Hey, welcome everybody. This is Rob Hartman from Sailingshack Racing. And I'm just going to take you through a few still images of our rebuild of our Seaway 25 Mark 1, which we started the renovation of. So a bit of background to it. The boat's name is currently Quarter Wave. It was called Kim and Tez for about 20 years and Freeway for about 20 years before that. The boat is boat number 43. It was built by Stevenson Sailboats in sort of Braeside, Moorabbin area in Melbourne, which is owned by Tom Stevenson. And the designer of the Seaway 25 was Doug Peterson. We were always after a Seaway 25 Mark 1. They made a number of Seaway 25s, around about 75 in total, which was the Mark 1, the Mark 2, and then they went to the Seaway 25 Elite, and then into a more cruisier version of the Seaway 25 in later years. So we'll talk a little bit about our boat. Quarter Wave was in its days as Kim and Tez was for the last 20 years, from about 2003 to 2023, was extensively cruised. It wasn't really raced much by the previous owner. This is a photo of the boat on its way to way to Queensland from Melbourne. It's a bit of a heck of a journey, but it was travelled up there and spent a number of family holidays up there with the previous owner. And before that, the boat was actually owned by another family who owned it for almost 20 years as well. And they did extensively sail the boat. Here is a picture of Freeway. It was called Freeway before Kim and Tez, down in the Marley Point race. So those of you who might know the Marley Point race down in the Gippsland Lakes, this was in its heyday. So probably around about 1988, this photo was taken and provided me by David Giddis, one of the previous owners. So big thanks to David, showing the boat at anchor. It's actually, we think, beside Razzle Dazzle, which is another Seaway 25 to the left. There's an RL24 in there. You can probably see a number of boats. You might even see yourself if you've done the Marley Point over a number of years. When we got the boat, it was in a bit of a state of affairs due to the pandemic. It was kept at the Gippsland Lakes, which is about sort of 4 hours south of Melbourne in Australia for a number of years, for about 21 years in fact, apart from the odd trip to Queensland and a few trips back to Melbourne, but specifically it was kept down there. But during the pandemic, it was obviously very hard to get to your boat. It was hard to travel. We had a lot of lockdowns in Victoria, which is the state of where Gippsland Lakes and Melbourne is. And unfortunately, the boat fell into a bit of disrepair and just simply because the owner couldn't get down there. So when we got the boat, the first thing we did was clean it out and try and clean it up, because it had been sitting in a yard for a good 5 to 6 years without much cleanup or attention. But the boat was all there, so it was all well equipped. I would say it was cruiserized because the previous owner and family did a lot of cruising as opposed to racing, and we want to take the boat back to be a racing boat. Because the Seaway 25 was extensively raced on IOR, on junior offshore group, on trailable yachting. It was quite an incredible boat that rated really well and had great success in all those categories. And we wanted to take this one back to this sort of quarter ton style of boat. In it you can see it's a lift keel. So it's a lift keel system you can see through there. And again, first thing we did was let's get all the stuff off. One of the things we discovered was the mast had been left up in all those years, and unfortunately the mast step itself was pretty bad. It was actually bowing in quite strongly, and when we took a look at it, we thought, well, we really don't want to sail with a mast step like this. So the first thing we had to do was drop the mast down, remove the mast step, remove the mast base, if you will, and get into that. We also noticed there was some big cracking in areas. So this is around the sliding hatch. This is pretty typical on most trailable yachts, because as people move to put the mast up and down, you're moving backwards and forwards, carrying a heavy load, and sometimes you're not looking where your feet go, and you'll always see this was a crack in the hatchway, which we clearly have to fix. Other things we noticed on the boat, it carried a large outboard, like a 10 horsepower outboard that was from Honda. It was an electric start, which is a great idea. But what we discovered was that the outboard was incredibly heavy and probably overweight for the stern. There was actually a rating limit on the stern. As you can see, it doesn't have an outboard bracket. It actually connects to the back of the stern of the boat, because the Seaway 25, while it was a trailable, it was still actually very much designed like an IOR boat, and it had a cassette rudder, which you can see the box there. That's actually where the rudder goes into. Amazing stainless steel ladder you can see on the side there, a number of cleats. You can see a bunch of rust areas as well. So we had to remove all that particular area. The rust stain there wasn't as bad as we initially thought. We thought that was in the bolts. In fact, it wasn't. It was actually just a a chrome brass fitting that was clipped to the backstay area, and that had just rusted and then just poured rust down all over the backstay fitting. So clearly we did actually remove all those. We'd have to fix those as well because that's just too dangerous on a backstay. Other things we noticed, bent turnbuckles, so all the rigging hadn't been changed for many, many years. As a safety precaution, we decided to put all new running rigging on it. And you can see these turnbuckles are bent. That just happens quite commonly in trailable yachts when the mast's going up or down. Stays do what stays do, and they twist and move. And we clearly saw we had to replace the turnbuckles. The other thing we saw on the boat was the rudder had been replaced. This is the rudder was a newer rudder. It turned out that the previous owners had actually run aground with the boat, which is a bit of the problem with the cassette rudder. If you're running in, you can get your centerboard up, but sometimes you miss the rudder, and they actually snapped it off or bent it severely, I should say, up in Queensland. So this was a new rudder, but there was one of the things they missed when they built the new rudder was they didn't put a filler gap in. So in that gap you see between the hull at the top there, there's a little L shape. There should actually be a piece of fiberglass in that piece in there to make it a really nice shape, so the hull blends seamlessly into the rudder. That was missing, and that's one job that we know we've still got to do. We also, as I said, the outboard at the back was, once we took off the plastic covering which was protecting this area, we saw that just over years it had been chipped pretty badly as well, so we knew we had to probably rebuild the stern at some point. So that's me there. First thing is polishing and removing the name, because the name was basically kept by the previous owners, which was totally fair. We were changing the name anyway to Quarterwave, and that's it there, and that's all the gear. So we got it out of the yard and just started pulling all the sails out, pulling amazing stuff, found a spinnaker, just all that kind of thing you do when you're going through a new boat. What it did have, as you can probably notice, is a really nice trailer. The trailer was fairly new, only a few years old, and there's a credit to the previous owner who built this new trailer. A very lightweight trailer. Looks like an IOR boom if you take a look at that with all the lightning holes in it, but it's an incredibly strong trailer, but very light, and was purpose built for the boat. It was frankly one of the reasons that I was attracted to this particular boat, because the trailers are very expensive to build new. One thing we knew, as we said, we had to drop the mast down. The previous owner had done a fantastic design in terms of allowing the mast to go up and down, which can be very tricky on trailable yachts. And this system they built with these braces, a bit similar to what you do with an Etchell or a J24, allowed the mast to go up and down without falling sideways, which is where the damage tends to happen. So it's a really nice, easy system to use, and that's allowed us to pull the mast up and down several times with ease. And if you haven't got a system like this, you need to get one done, because if you're a trailable yacht, no doubt your mast will be coming up and down quite a bit. This is the new mast step. So Tim Heaney from Fridgepool Heaney Boat Builders in Paynesville constructed this lovely mast step. It's all fitted back on again. What this connects to is actually a post that comes up from basically the keel at the bottom of the boat. Has a wooden post, goes all the way up through the cabin top, and this piece of wood sits over the top of that mast support piece. And then the actual mast step itself was rebolted and re-glued down. It was missing a couple of screws, so I'm glad we didn't sail with it the way it was previously. But that's the new mast step in place. We then started working on the deck layout. Because the boat had been cruised, they really hadn't done much in the deck layout space. They hadn't used the spinnaker, they missed some of the barber haulers, and the Seaway 25 was known as not having any tracks. There's no Hetzel tracks at all. They just ran barber haulers for the number 1, number 2, and number 3. And that made the boat really simple. So we can see there we've put in a spinnaker sheet cleat. We've got a cleat for the barber hauler, and then a cleat for the spinnaker tweaker. And in the background there you can see we've put Ronstand orbit blocks on for the spinnaker sheet. So just make it really convenient and easy to use for the person who's trimming. So mast is back up now. All new standing rigging was done. So Sly Boat Builders helped us with the rigging and got all new rigging done and all new running rigging. So new vang system, new backstay system, new jib sheets, spinnaker sheets, new main sheet. As you know, the list goes on. And the other thing we did was mount the spinnaker pole, which is, you can see down there, that's now mounted on the boom. So now the work starts downstairs. One of the things we noticed straight away, you can see the centerboard there, but all the woodwork around the centerboard was actually really chipped and damaged and split, so that we knew we had to take all that off. That also had some kind of nice tables put on either side of the centerboard case. The challenge with that is that when you're going upwind, they just bang like crazy if you're in race mode. So We wanted to remove those and just get rid of any noise we had down below, plus all new woodwork. We also worked on the purchase system for the centerboard, which was a very lightweight system, so we ended up doubling the purchase on that. But probably the most obvious thing, if you're a Seaway 25 owner over many years or no Seaway 25s, you'll notice that one thing that was done to the boat that was never done in the factory, and you'll see the bulkhead there, just to my left. The bulkhead should be a full half bulkhead, and that is the bulkhead goes out towards the centerboard case and actually supports the centerboard case. In this case, somewhere in its history, someone's removed that and made it just easier and more convenient to walk around the centerboard case. This has been done on many Seaways to make it more easier to cruise and walk around, but the problem is it doesn't support the centerboard case. And I figured that Doug Peterson designed the boat with the half bulkhead, so I rang Tom Stevenson, spoke to him about the modification, and the modification to his knowledge was never done except on the keelboat version of the Seaway, which there are a few around. So one of the things we wanted to do was get that bulkhead built in, that half bulkhead built back into the boat. We started to do work on all the hatches. So again, you just want to strip boats out. When you get them new, you want to just pull everything out you can, just get right down and see where there's any damage. We noticed damage on the centerboard case. We saw that on day one. It didn't leak. It was all fine, but it was something we wanted to repair. And we just got right into the hatches, saw where the lead was, which is all under the blue carpet there. This was the starboard bulkhead. That's original. But we could start to see some of the stretching. So some of the bolts have started to pull through the starboard bulkhead. So we knew that one would have to be replaced as well. That's just some of the neat little things you can do to tidy up a boat and make it look good. Is just painting, like where there's any woodwork, sanding it back, varnishing it, and you can just lift what a boat looks like really quickly. We did a new main sheet system. So again, so it had a really nice main sheet support. So we wanted to have a center main sheet, just not have the cleat on the main sheet center block, because what happens if you drop the traveller right down and you're hiking out or you're up to windward, you just cannot get to the main sheet to blow it off. So I always like to have a center main sheet block like this one. So again, it's a nice new Ronstand system, and we've got brand new main sheet rope in there. You can see that there's a traveller system, and we've also got a double-ended backstay system, so the backstay is adjustable from both port and starboard. We also made some little changes. We brought the spinnaker pole. I like to have the foredeck hand really in charge of all that, so it's kind of a hangover from my days of J24s and the S80. So we put the two little cleats there. The ropes we hadn't changed at that point, if you're noticing how bad they are, but the those two do the uphaul, so topping lift and downhaul for the pole. And we've also got the new bang rope you can see there in systems, which is led aft as well, so you can adjust the bang both port and starboard. This is it's me in the I guess the depth of the bowels of the Seaway 25. This is actually under the cockpit floor. So the piece of woodwork you can see above my head is actually a sliding step. That was a really great point the owner made. He did a great job, the previous owner, putting this sliding step in. It slides forward or slides back out of the way. This position where I am is really narrow. It's actually where the outboard can be stored typically, or you actually can get the rudder in there as well if you can maneuver your rudder in there, the rudder cassette box, if you're traveling long distances. But I also found out from some of my colleagues who sailed these and cruised with their families, this was actually a berth as well. So if you had a small child, you could actually put like a Lila or a sleeping bag in there, and many a child has actually slept in that position when cruising with their family. So it's kind of tight. Not sure I'd want to do it, but anyway. And that's clearly the bilge pump just in front of me, which we've left that in position. That's Lisa, my wife. So we're currently working on the boat there. She's actually painting the tow rail. Again, it's got a really nice wooden tow rail, which is teak, and that just comes up really nicely with just some woodwork. And you can see the new rigging's been done on the boat. You can see the pole on the boom as well, just for making just ease of use when you're going racing. And that's quarter wave. So she's back now on the trailer, new rig on, new name. You can see all that. We removed everything off the stern. So the only thing we left on there, which is actually now gone, was a stern light. We took off, it had a solar panel there. We've removed that because we're going to do a more mobile version. And we removed the big stainless steel ladder was on the back. We removed that. And well, I've been pleased to say we've been able to recycle and sell things on Facebook Marketplace and things like that so they all live a life. They weren't sort of put in the bin or anything like that. And you can see the new backstay systems on the boat. This is launch day, so this is it's my son Finn, my middle son. That's launch day down at Gippsland Lake, so Finn's looking pretty pleased that we're not sinking. He's very happy the boat's sitting up there very nicely. And you can just see the lines of the boat. You can see we've got a new outboard, so we put a new lightweight 6 horsepower Yamaha on the back. It's a long shaft, but you can see the way the IOR stern kicks up. And probably one of the downsides of the outboard is you do need to have people aft just to make sure that that propeller is in the water at all times, because you can see if you had a couple of people on the bow, it would pop right out. The boat is quite stable, but it also is quite light in terms of the way that the weight can move around. But that's us all back in the water for the very first time. This shot here is us going sailing. So this is the first time the spinnaker had been flown, I'm assured, in a good 21 years. So it's up there, and it's actually a Supreme sail. So it was a sailmaker in Melbourne. We'll give you an idea how old the sails are. And that's running with a hood mainsail, fully battened. So it's just great to get the sails up and take the boat for a good spin. And this is her just gone. This is down at Gippsland Lakes. We've just gone for a sail and then gone around to grab a coffee, believe it or not, at a local cafe. So you can see the lines of the boat. They're really nice. It's a really nice quarter-ton shape. You can see the tiller wheels also repainted and got that all sorted out. All new rope bags and wind channel bags, etc. I always find the boat just a really attractive looking boat, and even though it's a boat from design in 1979, it still gets a lot of looks, and people sort of look at the boat and just look at the lines of it. And it was, Doug Peterson did a remarkable job. So just hope that helps you out. That's just our first, I guess that's stage 1 of our renovation. I've got some video coming of the second stage, which we've been doing, which is replacing all the bulkheads, rebuilding all the stern, and I'll get that done as soon as I can for you. A few people to thank for the work we did so far. It was Tim Heaney and his staff at Fridgeville Heaney Boat Builders in Paynesville, Pete Dowdney at Ronstand Sailing for helping and guiding us with ropes and blocks and what we should have. Gippsland Boat Storage, who've just been fantastic, moving the boat in and out and looking after us and testing things for us. Sly Boat Building and Sly Ropes for all the work on the running rigging. Ian Tudball, who kind of introduced me to Seaways way back many years ago when he was racing his two Seaway 25s that he had, and he was great for getting some advice on the boat. Ian's a successful master laser sailor now, so it was great to stay in contact with him over many years. And of course Tom Stevenson, who answered many questions for me when I bought the boat and wanted to clarify things, and he was really fantastic for letting me know. But he also wanted to let me know that the warranty ran out in 1981, so to stop hassling him. So Tom was great. He's been fantastic, giving me some guidance and giving me more a history of the boat. The other little video we're going to do for you is just a history of the boat and where the Seaway 25 actually came from. So where was Doug Peterson's inspiration, and we'll do a follow-up for you on that one. So I hope you enjoyed that, and we'll keep doing some more videos on Quarter Wave and as she moves forward. Thanks.